5 men have been jailed for almost 70 years for their part in an aggravated burglary, which left another member of the gang dead. Armed with weapons, they wore dark clothing and balaclavas to barge into a house in Selby. A couple were inside with their 2 young children when the men entered the home in March 2022. They beat the man with a crowbar and punched him repeatedly, but the man fought back to defend himself, taking a knife during the struggle and stabbing one of the intruders, a 6th man from the gang. His fellow offenders fled to a getaway vehicle and left him as the man tended to him and called 999. Police and paramedics arrived within minutes, and despite the efforts of emergency services, the intruder died at the scene. The man who injured him was not charged with any offences in connection with his death, as he was defending himself and his family. A major investigation was launched, which included a manhunt for the 5 masked attackers. Detectives, along with officers from Selby's local policing team and specialist departments, acted on information and intelligence and were all identified and arrested over the following 48 hours. They were Alan James Hall, 34, of Selby; Daniel Welford, 32, of Pontefract; Max Jackson, 33, of Stockton-on-the-Forest; Callan Hunt, 35, of no fixed address; and Andrew Richardson, 38, of Doncaster. During interviews, only Welford placed himself at the scene but downplayed his involvement, stating he didn't know what the others were going to do. Richardson denied any involvement in the offence and stated he received news about the man being stabbed and went to the scene afterwards. Hall denied committing any offences and then was presented with the evidence give no comment answers. When presented with the fact that his blood was found in the address, Hall suggested that the cut that he had to his hand was because of a dog bite. Jackson denied any involvement and told interviewers that he didn't know anything about the incident as he wasn't there. In a subsequent interview, he maintained he didn't go into the address and answered no comment to all the questions. Hunt denied any offences and gave a prepared statement saying he was at another address when he heard something had happened. When presented with a mountain of evidence, including phone, work, CCTV, and witness accounts, he provided no comment answers. The intricate investigation used traditional and digital forensic opportunities, including CCTV, telecommunications analysis, fingerprint and DNA examinations, to identify all 5 individuals, placing them together before, during, and post-offence. A number of key witnesses were also interviewed during the investigation. All 5 were charged with aggravated burglary in October 2023. However, due to the number of defendants involved in the backlog of court cases, the case was sent to Leeds Crown Court but could not be listed for trial until July 2025. The defendants faced compelling evidence thanks to a thorough forensic examination of the scene, vehicle and weapons that give further corroboration to those involved in the attack, including Hall. He couldn't continue with the lies, and in the face of the overwhelming evidence, he and Richardson pleaded guilty on the first day of the trial. 3 other men pleaded not guilty, but this didn't wash with the jury, who unanimously found them guilty of aggravated burglary. Earlier this month, Jackson and Welford were jailed for 13 years each. Richardson and Hall received slightly reduced sentences for their guilty pleas and were jailed for 11 years and 4 months each. Hunt was deemed by a judge to be a dangerous offender and was jailed for 19 years, with a further 5 years on extended licence at the end of that sentence. Several members of the investigation team were awarded a judge's commendation for their work on securing convictions. Detective Sergeant John Kenworthy of North Yorkshire Police's Major Investigation Team said, "This was a premeditated, violent and distressing attack on the victims who were home with 2 very young children. Violent acts of this nature committed on North Yorkshire's communities are rare but will not go unpunished, and our teams will work relentlessly, however long it takes, to bring offenders to justice. Ultimately, this has turned into a fatal incident for one of the perpetrators. Any loss of life is a tragedy to the family, and the full circumstances of his death have been impartially and diligently investigated." Detective Sergeant Kenworthy added, "The outcome sends a clear reminder to anyone who decides to go masked up, tooled up, and intending to cause acts of violence to people and property of the risks and consequences of their decision-making. You will find yourself in custody, and you will be held to account for your actions. The offenders will now be spending a considerable amount of time in their cells reflecting on their poor decision-making that night. I commend the actions of the first attending officers who rushed to the scene to try and save the life of the man who was fatally injured, as well as secure and preserve the scene. A large police investigation used several departments and specialist officers who were proactive and persistent throughout the investigation to ensure all available evidence was secured. Please like this video, please comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.